Hi everyone, it's Sarah from Palace Tarot. So I've had some more feedback about discussing the astrology series, and two things that I've been asked to cover are modalities and elements. So some of you may recall that I went over those a little bit briefly in the introductory video, and then I do touch on them in the individual sign videos that I've been doing. But let's talk about them all on their own. And there's one book that I would recommend if you want to just kind of focus on this aspect of astrology. And it's by an astrologer I really like, as are all the books that I recommend. It's this guy right here, Astrology, Psychology, and the Four Elements. It's by Stephen Arroyo. Do yourself a favor. If you think that you're interested in astrology or might be in the future, if you're somewhere and like a used bookstore and you see one of his books, pick it up. You'll thank yourself later. So this is the book that I would recommend when you're talking about like this particular topic, besides a basic book, okay? So as far as the modalities go, we've got three different types of modalities. We have cardinal, fixed, and mutable, okay? So with the cardinal signs, it's easy to pick out the cardinal signs once you learn your dates. And the cardinal signs are kind of a good way to cheat a little bit, because if it is a cardinal sign, it will begin a new season, okay? So for example, Aries begins in the spring. Then we move on to Cancer, which is the beginning of summer at the summer solstice. Then we've got Libra at the vernal equinox. And then finally we have Capricorn when we have the winter solstice. So those are our cardinal signs. Those are our initiators. Those are our leaders. Those are the people that have the big ideas kind of people. Now, that manifests in a lot of ways. And these tend to be really creative signs that are initiators of activity. Now, whether or not they follow through is a different story, and that's where fixed modalities come in. So if you have a fixed sign, sure, they can have a trait already. You can imagine, like, for example, like Leo is a fixed fire sign. So maybe stubborn, a little bit temperamental. However, fixed modalities and signs, they have really good follow through. So if they are focused and on target, that modality of being a fixed sign really endows that individual with a lot of laser-like focus and a lot of energy really to get things accomplished too, okay? So this is kind of your follow-through type of energy, this fixed modality. Now, the other modality is mutable, okay? Now, your mutable signs are going to be your detail signs. They're also going to be your really creative signs, a little bit like your cardinal signs, but differently. And that mutable signs are really good at problem solving when things arise. They're better at going with the flow than, say, cardinal and certainly fixed signs. But that being said, all three of these, and as I'm describing, like, you're like, well, those are energies that everyone has. They are, and we need all three of them, which is why they all three of them exist, and that we're touching on them briefly here. So a mutable sign like Virgo, detail-oriented, practical. If things come up, Virgo's probably already got a contingency plan for it, for example. So mutable signs have that ability to kind of adapt as things go along, whereas fixed signs are less likely to do that, and cardinal signs, they're just not that interested in pursuing that type of process. So that's kind of how those different energies work. And bear in mind, this is a very general overview. Now, as I was saying earlier, I started touching on elements a little bit. So there's four. There's fire, earth, air, and water. So one way to think about it, the fire and air signs are all going to be yang, active, or masculine signs. So that's one way that you can kind of cheat there with the fire and the air. And then the earth and the water signs are going to be the yin, feminine, or receptive signs. So you can remember it that way. Now, as far as the energies, I didn't put the H on earth. My Virgo rising is not happy with that. So I just did. Hey, now it says Earth, but it's not the same marker. So fire signs, very dynamic, passionate, creative, very highly energetic, as you can imagine. And so these are some of the great traits that you'll find among fire signs. Some of the shadow traits that you'll find among fire signs: impulsivity, stubbornness, a lack of a willingness to control emotions and letting them being overruled by their emotions at times. Earth signs. Earth sign strengths, very practical, down to earth, know how to get things done. They're also really great problem solvers, really good nurturers. Kind of the downside to the earth signs, sometimes they can get too hung up on details. There can be patterns of thought with earth signs where they just kind of spin around and around, and they can't be very productive. And the thing about earth signs is they can kind of give at their own expense sometimes too. So that's something that's in the shadow side there of earth signs as well. Okay. Air signs, oh my gosh, so much fun, very spontaneous, creative, very open to new ideas and bringing other people ideas, very forward-thinking individuals. The other, kind of the shadow side of air signs, being ungrounded, that's a big one. Not knowing quite when to quit. And kind of running yourself into the ground a little bit. That can be another one of the shadow signs of the air. Also, not being very focused, kind of having a scattered energy at time. That can also be a shadow side to air signs as an element. Water signs. Oh, water signs have a very high emotional intelligence. They tend to be very intuitive. They're also very good caretakers and nurturers. They're very good at trusting their gut instincts. Same earth signs can do that too, actually. Water signs, they can be prone to depression. They can get very overwhelmed by their feelings to the point where the heart is completely ruling the head. The head is like out of the picture. The other thing about water signs too, they are chronic people pleasers as well, with the exception probably of Scorpio, where they might have a tendency to not get their needs met because they are reticent to vocalize them, so they're not very confrontational. And it's not bad to be non-confrontational, it's just you're not going to get anything done. It's not straightforward. So, yeah, I just wanted to kind of cover the modalities and the elements here and just discuss them kind of briefly. So, and I am going to let you know, for example, there's only going to be one cardinal fire sign, and that will be Aries. There will be only one cardinal earth sign, and that's going to be Capricorn. And you can take each of these modalities and then add in an element, and it'll only correspond to one sign until you have all 12, because 4 times 3 is 12. So this is another one of your little cheat sheets, kind of like the other one that I used. So I hope this was helpful, and I look forward to bringing you more information soon.